Everybody, welcome again to the Inventive Journey. I'm excited to have everybody on. For those that are just joining, I'm Devin Miller, the host, and Inventive Journey is a podcast where we kind of go through the different paths that those that are involved with startups or founded or early on startups, what their journey has been, what their path is, and what their experience is. So today we have on the show Bryan Heslop. He is with a small startup. He worked previously with a larger company. I'll let him tell a little bit more about that. And then he decided to make the jump over to a smaller company that had 3 or 4 employees. I think you were number 4. So with that, we'll kind of maybe turn it over to you to give a bit of an intro and kind of tell the audience just about a little bit of your path to the startup that you're working at now.
All right, thanks, Devin. So in school, I studied computer engineering, and I joined National Instruments as an applications engineer out of college. And I worked there for 8 years. National Instruments provides automated test, instrumentation, and software. And I transitioned from an applications engineering role into sales and worked in sales for 5 years and was here in Utah as an account manager, managing the large accounts here in Utah at the end of my time at National Instruments. And I worked a lot with Endigit, the company that I work with now. They were a partner company of National Instruments. And Endigit started in 2011 with just one guy, the founder, doing software consulting, automated test, software development, and those types of projects. And I worked closely with them because as in doing sales, I wanted my customers to be successful. And a lot of that is having an expert to help with development and integration of the systems. So I partnered a lot with Endigit and got to know the owner really, really well. And found that he was really good at getting things done. And so I thought that eventually it might be good to partner up. And at some point after Endigit grew some and they were in need of someone that could help grow the business and do sales efforts. And so we had a conversation and I joined up.
So kind of, that's a good summary. Now, maybe diving in a little bit deeper to give people an audience. I mean, you have a lot of people or a good amount of people that are entrepreneurs or want to be with the startup, and whether you found it yourself or you're one of the early on employees or one of the people that are there as it grows and as it develops, it can be a scary time or a scary decision because you're going from what would be a large company that, in quotes is, stable, or that, that you have more stability and you don't worry about a paycheck or if you're going to make payroll or anything else, to going to a startup to where there isn't as much, client base or as much stability, or there isn't as many employees or resources or those things that, that you're typically used to with a larger company. So how did you make that decision, or what prompted you to go from what would have been, in many eyes, a stable company over to what would be, something that's more of a risky startup?
That's a great question. And I don't think I view it the way a lot of people do, but it was an interesting transition because, like you said, there's the feeling of stability at a larger company, and there's the thought that a small company, there's more risk. And I don't think I completely agree to that, because I know lots of people at large companies that are stable companies that have been laid off or that have been forced into jobs that they don't like. And I view my job security more as the skills and the abilities that I have rather than based on a specific company. So yes, National Instruments is a great, stable company, and I had a good career path, I thought there. But I didn't see as much risk as maybe some people might with going to a small company, because there's risk basically everywhere. So I felt that there was more opportunity for me at a small company to have more of a day-to-day impact on the company in helping it grow, and my decisions and input would have more effect on the company.
Sure, and you're probably preaching to the choir. So I said I'm a proponent. I've started my own law firm as well as a product development firm, and I like the control and the ability of the of being your own boss, or to be, you know, part of the ground floor and the decision makers. Whereas when you get into a larger company, oftentimes you can do a very good job in your role, but it's a much larger company. It's slower moving and harder to see your impact on it. So I'm with you, but there is, you know, even when I made the jump to doing my own thing and then started my own companies, you think, okay, did I make the right decision? Is this going to work out well, or should I just stayed with the path that I thought was probably going to be successful? But probably to your point, I look at it as, you know, if you are talented and if you have the ability to perform and to do well, then you can have more of the control over your destiny with sometimes a lot of times the smaller companies and startups, and you can have more of an impact than sometimes you do with the larger companies.
Yeah.
So maybe shifting gears just a little bit. So, and for those that are listening, Bryan is one of the clients of Miller IP Law, and we're also been a friend for a while now. So I know him fairly well, but we talked a little bit before about this, and you kind of have, you know, a couple different roles that you kind of see of being the creative versus the executor. And I know you use different words, but kind of the two roles, or the different roles that you see that you play and others play, and how that plays out within a startup when you're trying to sometimes be the jack of all trades and also have a diverse group that gives you the best thought, or, you know, the most diverse thoughts and the best outcome.
Yeah, I like to put it, there's a book by Gino Wickman called Rocket Fuel, and another one, Traction, that I've read recently. And there's two different roles and personality types that he talks about in there. And one is a visionary and the other is an integrator. Mm. And both of them are sort of rare in society, but the integrator is even more rare. And I fit very well in the visionary category, where I have lots of ideas. Most of them are not very good. And I'm really good at starting things, and then some of the time things kind of drop off, and I don't necessarily finish things really well. And that's where integrators are really helpful, because they're really good at getting stuff done. They can take ideas and implement them and get things done, and put systems in place to have that be successful. And I've known for a long time that I was more of the visionary type. I didn't know necessarily the terms for it, but I'd had that idea for quite a while and had been looking for someone to partner with that could take my ideas and either shoot them down because they're terrible ideas or help me to make them be a reality and be successful in them. And Robert, the founder of Endigit, is very much an integrator. And so as I worked with him, I saw that, and I thought that it's a good partnership, that we could work together and maximize our strengths, where I can do what I'm good at and he can take he can do what he's good at. And as we work together, those strengths will amplify each other, and we'll be able to have really good results from that. And so far it's worked out really, really well, where we can have that synergy of working together. And it's interesting how
business buzzword of synergy, right?
Yeah, sorry. It's interesting how the visionaries and the integrators often have different views about things, and they think about things differently. So it's a lot of fun to have very active discussions about the best way to pursue things and the best way to handle ideas and the best way to do things, because we have different opinions, and it's fun in that dynamic of arguing with each other to figure out what's the best way to move forward, and have the Robert's integration skills settle me down a little bit and keep me in reality. So
that reminds me, so I'm reading a book right now. It's by Mark Randolph, which is one of the founders of Netflix. And so he's, you know, a lot of what you hear in the book is, I think, titled, and I'd have to double check, I think it's That Will Never Work. And it kind of goes through from Mark Randolph, which a lot of times when you hear Netflix now, Reed Hastings is the one that is a lot of times in the news are the one that you hear about. But it was actually Mark Randolph, at least according to the book, which is written by him, so maybe it's slightly skewed. But that he was the one that kind of came up with the idea. So he was exiting from a startup that had done well with Reed Hastings, and he was kind of exiting, and he was looking for that next great idea. And he would drive back and forth with Mark to what was the company they were winding down and kind of been acquired. And as they would ride back and forth, he would shoot ideas by him, and he had, I think some mail order like shampoo at one point, some other ideas that were, probably not going to work as well. And he finally landed on, I'm summarizing it, landed on the idea of Netflix, which and Mark or Reed Hastings kind of said that will never work. And so they kind of had over, I can't remember, it was over lunch, over conversation. They said, okay, why don't we take a CD? We'll just drop it in an envelope, see if it actually makes it into the mail. And then if it does, then maybe at least it might work. And if it comes, completely broken up and messed up, that it won't. And by happenstance, they put it in the right local mail. If they put it into, it had to gone through the sorting system at a higher level, but it was got messed up and banged up. But it actually ended up working out. But it's an interesting book, and how it ties in with what you're talking about is you had Mark Randolph that was the CEO for the first, I think, about a year to 18 months of Netflix. And as they were trying to go through and raise money in that, Reed Hastings was often the one that they traded off his name, and he had the bigger name in cloud in Silicon Valley. And then at about 18 months, he came in and said, you're doing a great job, but X, Y, and Z, I don't know that you're the person to take it on execution level to the next level. You had some good ideas, you've had some failures, and they had kind of, after a conversation, I'm sure it was less than a happy one on Mark Randolph, but they both came to conclusion that he was a good president, someone that could, give the overall direction, some of the insight and visionary, but then let Reed Hastings, as more of an executor and someone that is a good problem solver, can execute, be the CEO. So it kind of gives the little bit, without using the same terminology, your book kind of gave me the same idea of you have the executor, someone that can really solve problems and get things done and execute on things, and you have somebody that needs more of the vision and the ideas. And if you have both of those, it can make for a much stronger company. Whereas if you only have one of the skill sets, you can maybe execute very well, but not have as good a vision for the company, or have a great vision for the company and never quite execute well on it. So it's an interesting parallel.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of small businesses fail. That they have someone, often it's a visionary that starts a company and doesn't have an integrator. And as a result, things get dropped, and they have great ideas, and it's a great idea for a company, but not able to get things done.
Yep.
And so that's why I think it's important to find somebody that matches up well as an integrator to get things done.
Sure, I agree. So now shifting gears slightly. So you said you're an idea guy, and you always seem to have new ideas. So what do you think is your best idea as of recent for a business or for a product? Without giving, and I get that I'm a patent trademarker. Don't give away anything that's proprietary or that you don't want the public to know. But maybe what's one of your ideas that you're willing to share or give away?
One of the ideas that we're working through right now at Endigit is how to best support customers after we've delivered a system to them. So we've had, we'll do the software and hardware development, deliver a system to the customers, and then that's kind of the end of it. And I've been working through the ideas of how to support the customer and help keep that system up to date so that it doesn't have obsolete operating systems or software or hardware and become a burden to the customer in the long run. And also to keep us more involved with the customer and get more repeat business. So that's an idea that we're just about ready to roll out right now. So I think it's kind of fun.
All right. Well, at least for the nerdy people that enjoy software coding and system updates and everything, that would be a fun idea. So one of the other things, kind of when you go through the inventive journey, and you always hear, and you read the books a lot of times, or the biographies, or hear about people, and so you kind of hear the highlight reel, right? So you hear what are the best decisions they make, and everything went smoothly, or if they had a bump, it was a hiccup along the way, and you never really hear kind of about what the bad decisions were as well as the good decisions. So maybe with that in mind, what is the best business decision you've made, and what's the worst one you've made?
Well, I don't know if I've made any bad ones.
What's the most optimal decision you've made?
Um, well, I think my best, I'll go with the best decision right now while I think of something for the worst. The best, I think, was joining with Endigit. I had a great career at National Instruments. It was a lot of fun, and I was doing well and enjoying that. It was a great job. But joining up at Endigit has been a great decision. It's been very freeing and opening to where I can experiment with things, try things, and enjoy things a lot more. Where it's I don't know, it's great. As far as bad business decisions, trying to think of the worst one. I've tried some ideas for like marketing stuff for Endigit when we first started up that didn't go very well. Like I wanted to get our website some more publicity, and so we had a contest to see. On our website, we try to show a little bit of personality on like where it shows who the employees are. If you hover over a picture, like we've got our picture that's a normal, professional, cute little headshot. And then if you hover your mouse over it, goes to a sort of funny picture. So I thought it'd be great to get a lot of people to see it if we had people vote on like social media and stuff who they thought was the funniest. It didn't really work. There was like 10 people that saw it and voted, and it was not really potential customers. It was like employees' moms and stuff. But it was a good try.
So what do you do when you have those decisions and aren't good, or when you do it? How do you react, or how do you pivot, or do you just scrap it and start over, or how do you kind of move forward? And I guess with that, when do you decide that it's a bad idea? Because it's always sometimes it's a hard transition between when it's a bad idea and when it's one that you just haven't executed right on, or you haven't given enough time to percolate. So when's kind of the idea that you pull the plug versus the continue or press forward and with the faith that at some point it will work?
Boy, I think that's the golden question, right? You always see I guess I'll call it a meme of a guy digging through the ground, and you can see that he's like 10 feet from a diamond mine, but he gives up and walks away. And the message is persistence, stick with it. But sometimes it is just a bad idea, and you should turn around and walk away because there's no diamond mine right there. And knowing when is I think the hard thing. But once you've decided that it's not the right decision, I think you need to just stop right away and move to something else and start digging somewhere else. Because if you dig enough, you'll find something, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I mean,
you still didn't answer my question though. So take your example of when did you decide on your worst idea or your bad idea? I don't know which one it is. When did you decide to pull the plug? Was it just that you put in some effort, you didn't see it? Did you stick with it, or what was the thought process of? Because usually, as me as an entrepreneur, and I think for a lot of people, I have 10 great ideas before breakfast, and by the afternoon, 9 or all 10 of those I've decided are bad ideas. But every so often, you'll have one that you get really excited about and start to execute on, and you actually pull through. And yet, they're still not all good ideas. And so, how did you in that situation say, okay, I thought it was a good idea, I thought I'd execute on it, it's not working out, I'll move on to the next better idea?
Well, the example I gave, it was an easy one because I had a deadline, right? It was who gets the most votes by Friday.
Okay.
And so that one was an easy one. But there's another idea that I had about marshmallows. Have I talked to you about marshmallows?
You have not talked to me about marshmallows, but it does sound interesting.
That is one that I still haven't completely given up on, but maybe wasn't as great as I thought. I was with my family and we were roasting marshmallows, and I roasted one, and it was roasted perfectly. And somebody's like, wow, that's the perfect marshmallow. And they were really excited about it. So I thought, oh, people get really excited about perfect marshmallows. It'd be awesome to have like a little marshmallow shop that people come in and there's gourmet marshmallows and stuff. And so I came home and I figured out how to make marshmallows. And so I made some marshmallows and had some friends over, and we roasted them and they just didn't really care. It was just like, oh, well, you're not nearly as excited as I thought you would be. And so I lost a little bit of steam on it, but then I've made some for some other people and they got really excited. And so it's still one of those ideas that's kind of cooking inside of me that I haven't pulled the plug on yet, but I haven't really plugged it in yet either.
Nope, that's the first time I've heard of the marshmallow idea, but it is. I get the excitement about it. There is something fun about roasting marshmallows and getting the perfect marshmallow.
Right. I'll have to make you some marshmallows.
Right,
some of them are really good. Some of my flavor ideas.
You make your own marshmallows from scratch?
Yeah.
Wow. I have no idea how to even make marshmallows, so that sounds pretty exciting.
Oh, it's really complex and easy to read off the internet how to do it.
All right, so the 30-second side. So, I work at Miller IP with a lot of startups and small businesses, helping them with their patents and trademarks. And every entrepreneur has a great idea, and some of them I get some great clients that come in and they really do have good ideas, and I think they're fun to work with and exciting. And others, you'll get people that they're the idea guys that they have 10 great ideas and all they need is someone to believe in them or someone to fund them and everything. And usually it's much more than persistence and execution. But with that, there's always one of my favorite Dilbert cartoons is, Dilbert comes home and he has a great idea, and I forget what the idea is. And then Dogbert, which explains the idea, and within a few seconds, Dogbert pulls out his computer, Googles it, and shows that somebody had come up with that exact same idea that says, Google killing dreams since 1998. So with that, I'll have to look up how to make marshmallows online. So maybe the last question, and then we'll give you an opportunity to plug Endigit a bit more or anything about yourself. But the last one is, so for those that are in a larger company or larger business and they have the desire to, because they're burned out or they just want to try something new, or they've always had kind of an entrepreneur drive, what would the advice be for those that are trying to decide whether to stay with the career path they've already chosen or they're on, versus look for something new or a change of going to a small business or a startup?
Well, sometimes it's the right decision to stay at a big company. There's nothing wrong with working at a big company. There's a lot of really, really great things working at a big company. But sometimes it's the right decision to move on. And I think part of my role at Endigit is recruiting and hiring. And I find that people I talk to, they drag the decision out for a long time. And really, I think people know the answer already, right? They know what they want. They understand that they need to do it. Well, don't need to, but they want to do it. But they're scared maybe. And so they just take a long time making the decision. They make it a drawn out, agonizing process when in reality, they knew that they were going to do it to begin with within the first day or so. Right. So I think if you're in that situation, just make the move and do it. Don't drag it out. Because that just increases your displeasure and adds extra anxiety thinking about it. But find something that you can do and go do it. And if it turns out it doesn't work out, you still have the same capabilities and skills that you had before, and go get a different job or start something else, right? Just because something didn't work out great doesn't mean that the next thing's not going to.
All right, that's great advice. So, okay, well, with that, I know that you're wanting to get up on the ski slopes, which sounds really fun, and I don't blame you at all. But maybe as we wrap up this episode of the podcast, give you an opportunity to kind of do any plug for Endigit, what you guys do and how to reach out to you, and if there's any potential customers that would be worthwhile to connect up with you, here's your chance to kind of plug Endigit.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Endigit, we do system integration services. So that's building hardware and software instrumentation systems. A lot of it is in the automated test application, and specifically a lot in the aerospace industry. So we test things like actuators for aircraft, rocket parts, missile parts, any electromechanical system. We do a lot of test systems for those. But we also do prototyping of systems. We're working with a company in Salt Lake that does ventilators and CPAPs for premature babies. So building prototypes for them so that they can prove out the technology, see that it works. So if you've got some system that you need built or some prototype you want done or tested, I'm happy to talk to you about that. I can be reached. My email is Bryan, Bryan, at endigit.com. Endigit's Endigit. So Bryan at Endigit.com.
Hopefully you spelled it right. That's always one word. You spell it, or you spell it right. Like, did I spell it right, or did I just misspell it? Great. Well, I'll include that in the show notes as well. But it was great to have you on. I won't keep you from the ski slopes any longer, but appreciate you sharing your inventive journey, and we'll let you go. Have a good one.
Thanks, Devin.